The game never stops, and neither do we. Welcome to the SDH Network. We're always around the corner from everywhere. Morning Espresso is brought to you by Oglethorpe University, Atlanta's premier undergraduate learning experience and soccer powerhouse. Good morning, y'all. I'm Jason Long. Shorts Friday. It's February 20th. MLS season number 31 begins tomorrow. Atlanta United open in Cincinnati. The title race in England is tightening up. Across the sport, we've got growth happening everywhere, along with some pressure, along with some chaos. Let's get into it. Let's start with MLS at the age of 31. The 31st season starts tomorrow. 15 matches over the weekend. Just those numbers alone are crazy when you think about where the league started. Back in 1996, 10 teams, 5 games every match week. You had games in weird places at times. You had situations where it was hard to find games at times. It was just such a different place. And now I think it's easy to take for granted what we have in this league. It's not a startup anymore. It's established and it's growing. And what that looks like is a really interesting question in 2026. Don Garber has called this year a seminal moment. It's not hyperbole. It's real. You've got a World Cup on North American soil this summer. You've got the calendar shift coming next summer to have a season that starts in the fall and ends in the spring. You have multiple franchises that are worth more than $1 billion. And you've sustained global attention since Lionel Messi arrived, with Son Heung-min coming in, with James Rodriguez coming in. You are an established top league in the world. And I know saying that upsets some people. Not saying it's the best league in the world. It's not close. Is it one of the top 10? Absolutely. I do believe that it is. I've always said that I felt like the league should be striving to get to the level of Ligue 1. And PSG kind of changes, I think, the way maybe you think of Ligue 1 across the board. But I think MLS is getting into that ballpark. Now, here's the other thing that I think is maybe a little bit of a wake-up call in general. Because when we talk about this, yes, MLS is not the best league in this hemisphere at the moment. I think the Brazilian league has a little more quality. It does not have as much structure and sustainability, but it has more quality. I think the Liga MX is right there in quality and a little bit better at times at the top end, but maybe not in the middle and at the bottom end. I think the Argentine league is very good. The Colombian league is close. But here's the thing that I think is a shock for a lot of people. No, MLS is not dominant as the best league in the Western Hemisphere. But when you take MLS, Liga MX, Brazil, Argentina, top teams out of Colombia, and you compare them to the leagues we're talking about in Europe, Ligue 1 is maybe the aspiration, but when we're talking about Portugal, we're talking about Belgium, we're talking about the Netherlands, we're talking about that next grouping of leagues and teams in Europe, you're right there in that conversation. So no, MLS might not be the best league in the Western Hemisphere, but the Brazilian league might be better than everybody but the Ligue 1. So I know it's this thing about this game being global that at times maybe we put blinders on and we only think about what is accessible and what is everywhere for you, and maybe at times what's in our own native language. Just can't think that way anymore about this game. I think where MLS is in a great place. It can be in a better place. Saturday night could set an opening weekend attendance record. Inter Miami facing LAFC at the LA Memorial Coliseum. Messi versus Sonny, historic venue, national broadcast window. That's a positioning statement for year 31. Across the league, look, the ambitions are pretty clear. You've got James Rodriguez now in Minnesota. He has secured his work permit. Seattle, they have goalkeeper decisions between two number one level guys. Other teams have position battles, just like we talk about in in other leagues in the world, just like we talk about in other sports in the United States. You're having these conversations that are just normal. The New York Red Bulls bringing back an American legendary player to be their manager. What is that going to look like? New England trying to reestablish their identity. You've got Rodrigo De Paul saying something that, again, maybe upset some folks. He argued that winning MLS can be harder than winning the Champions League. It wasn't about the prestige. Stop throwing things and getting upset. It's about the format. In MLS, you grind through the regular season, which is difficult and has its ups and downs and absolutely does mean something because of the positioning for the playoffs, the travel, the climate swings, and then the playoff system where one mistake ends your season. Miami went through that in 2024. It's not like other leagues where you can at times simply outspend and out-talent teams, and over a long period of time, you should be at the top. There are some teams that always try to push the envelope with that and try to fight their way to the bottom, but that's a different conversation. It's tough. You don't get margins for bad nights in MLS. You can have a great season and fall short in the playoffs, and you don't lift the trophy at the end. His phrase is essentially, you've got to be perfect all the time. Fascinating. And fascinating from somebody who has won a World Cup. Fascinating from somebody who has played in La Liga, who gets it. This season for MLS is about the growth from year 1 to year 31, meeting the expectations that I think should be realistic expectations that we all have, not the unfair expectations of MLS being the biggest league in the world, bigger than leagues that have a 70, 80, 90-year head start. No, it's not fair. The expectation is MLS being the best version of itself that it can be and being one of the best leagues in the world. I want to see that standing, that quality, that depth of quality. I want to see that continue to grow. That is what I'm looking for in 2026 for Major League Soccer. I can't wait for the season to start, and we'll be in Cincinnati for the start of that season. Atlanta United preseason is done. The theory is over. After Thursday's training, Tata Martino spoke to the media, and he made it pretty clear the structure's in place. Now that structure has to show up under game stress. I asked him about balance. I asked him about the structure without the ball and the freedom with it, and he talked about how he feels pretty good about where that is right now with his team. He specifically, after I'd asked him earlier, mentioned Thomas Jacob about helping with that defensive structure to allow more freedom with the ball. Latte Lath talked about the freedom with the ball. It makes it difficult for defenses to deal with it because you don't have fixed points. You have creative players who can go find the game. This team has worked very hard in preseason. Everybody has talked about the amount of running, the intensity of the preseason trainings. You have to have that to be able to press in the way that Tata Martino wants to win the ball back. But he wants to dominate games with the ball. He wants attacking interchange. He wants teams to have to deal with Atlanta United rather than Atlanta United dealing with the opponents. He does want to get forward quickly when it's on. He's cool with verticalidad. He wants that when it's there. Latte Lath talked about the pressing as well as chance creation. And we've had this conversation with teams that don't want the ball but press and how that is their playmaker. I think for Atlanta, you want both. You want to be able to create opportunities with the ball, but you also want to create some opportunities by pressing and winning it back high up the field, the kind of Barcelona Dutch idea. You want to have that mentality to do it. Win the ball high, finish before they reset, punish teams in transition, but also be careful about getting hurt in transition. Tata also talked about the season and the competitiveness that he needs from his team. He says it's a 10-month commitment. It's not February to April. It's February to December. It's not about vibes. It's not about narratives. It is about competing day in, day out. Game 1 in Cincinnati, who's a very good team coming off of a CONCACAF win on Wednesday. It won't define 2026. It'll give us the first chapter, the first data points of 2026. How does the structure look? How is the intensity level? What is the emotional control in moments where you have the ups and downs? How is the interchange in the attack? Those are the things we're going to be watching for. And of course, you need to be part of it with us. Join us on Saturday. The Five Stripes Countdown starts at 3:30 on 92.9 The Game with Abe Gordon and Madison Cruz. Kickoff just after 4:45 with Mike Conti and me in Cincinnati. You can sync the broadcast with Apple TV or Fox. You can watch on both. Use the Odyssey app to do that. It is year 10 of Atlanta United. Vamos. All right. Once you get through the Atlanta United game and MLS on Saturday night, you can wake up on Sunday and get ready for the North London Derby. Go back to February 7th. Arsenal were 9 points clear at the top of the Premier League. Now, Manchester City can cut that lead to 2. The swing started at Anfield, City coming back to beat Liverpool late. Opta had Arsenal at a 98% title probability. Now at 79% after dropping points at Brentford, collapsing against Wolves. Nothing changed mathematically that drastically. I mean, that's 19 percentage points. It's still 79%. But the perception doesn't feel that way. The perception feels more drastic. It has shifted. Perception in title races is like oxygen. Mikel Arteta said it's time to talk on the pitch. Frustration doesn't win titles. So this game Sunday against Spurs, it matters not just because of that rivalry, not just because of Tottenham Hotspur's own issues. They're trying to avoid getting relegated. But it matters for Arsenal's mental steadiness because they go to the Etihad in April, and that might decide the season. They've got to get strong before that. This has been the best team in Europe this season, but are they going to finish that way? Can they handle the pressure? Can they handle that growth under the project that Mikel Arteta has built? Can they handle now when that meets expectation? Again, just like with MLS, we're going to find out together, aren't we? Let's go to the NWSL. Yesterday, they announced a major multi-year sponsorship with CVS Pharmacy. It's not just signage, youth clinics, health programming, combined support, and the community integration. It's infrastructure growth. At the same time, ESPN announced Women's Sports Sundays, 9 straight weeks of WNBA and NWSL primetime programming. That's exposure growth. Really cool stuff on the women's game. Over in Europe, Manchester United's women, they reached the Champions League quarterfinals for the first time. Wolfsburg through again. Arsenal, Real Madrid, we talked about that. Arsenal's going to face Chelsea. Real Madrid's going to face Barcelona. Huge games in Europe in the Women's Champions League. Big sponsorships with CVS for the NWSL, and a big commitment to women's sports by ESPN in the summer. Exciting things across the board in the women's game. It's scaling commercially and competitively at the same time. That matters. Let's bounce around MLS. The LA Galaxy, they leave Panama 1-1 in CONCACAF Champions Cup play. They get the away goal. They got some debutantes involved. They'll be fine. They play in MLS this weekend and then have the second leg in Carson. They should be okay. Toronto, according to reports this morning, they are in the process of landing Josh Sargent finally in a massive deal. It's going to be one of the biggest transfer fees in MLS history. He will become the focal point for Toronto. Yes, World Cup motivations, earning his way into the World Cup roster, are in play here. He's also going to have a lot of pressure on him. He has been very good at club level, and he has not matched that with the national team. He has not played in Major League Soccer. What is it going to look like for him in Toronto? Is it all going to come together? And this move finally gets done after Norwich has been a little difficult to deal with. Columbus, they have signed Andre Gomes, the European pedigree Euro 2016 winner with Portugal. His experience will be big in that midfield for the crew. Toronto, they've acquired Daniel Shallowy, a proven veteran in Major League Soccer, a goal scorer for many years with Sporting Kansas City as their aggressive rebuild continues. Orlando, they have locked down Edward Atuesta long-term. The continuity in midfield, very important for OC. San Diego, reportedly preparing a big offer for Henry Martin. It looks like San Diego still has to figure out what they're going to do with Chucky Lozano, but they are aggressive in the Liga MX market if this one comes to fruition. FC Dallas, it's kind of sad. They buy out Paxton Pomacall. It's emotional. He's one of their more symbolic homegrowns, and injuries just derailed his career. He's only played 5 games in the last 2 seasons. We'll see if he can get back on the field somewhere in 2026. Josie Altidore, he has joined the ownership group in Oklahoma City for USL, big infrastructure build towards 2028. The ecosystem in the U.S. expanding. Let's bounce around with a refilled cup of morning espresso. Lanús, they beat Flamengo in the first leg of the CONMEBOL Recopa. Flamengo's got some work to do. They're going to have to change a lot, according to their star man, Arrascaeta. The return leg next week is in the Maracanã. That will be a must-watch. The Super Clásico between Chivas and Club America did almost 2 million viewers on Telemundo, 1.97 million. Huge audience, cross-border market strength, and it shows you that Liga MX is a player. I think a lot of times when we talk about TV viewing and people want to gripe or whatever with MLS and talk about NWSL and talk about the Premier League, they leave Liga MX out. 1.97 million viewers. Liga MX is massively consumed on American television, U.S. television to be specific. Premier League overseas rights still rising. They just got a 25% increase in South America and the Caribbean, one of their larger markets worldwide. That global revenue model widening for the Premier League, and that's why they're the best league in the world. They have the money to spend. They can have the best talent. UEFA now backing a 48-team Club World Cup in 2029. Told y'all this was going to be a big deal. I think there were a lot of people who wanted to fight it just because a lot of people want to fight everything FIFA does, and FIFA does things to fight. Don't get me wrong. But the Club World Cup, I think, is a good idea, and it is something that is just going to be part of the global calendar for years to come. It is a good competition, and I'm excited about it each and every time when it comes around every 4 years. Crystal Palace, the situation with Oliver Glasner is getting untenable. You've got fans chanting against him, which I think is extremely unfair. The club has gotten rid of players that he didn't want to get rid of. He is not coming back at the end of the season. It feels like you're just extending the inevitable. If he's not coming back and you're not happy with him, move on. But this malaise that is just settling over Palace is not good for anybody. I thought the chanting yesterday of you're going to be sacked in the morning is just not a fan of that sort of stuff, and I don't think it's fair in this case at all. Carlo Ancelotti, according to reports, we've talked about it, there's quotes now that he wants to extend his stay with Brazil, continuity through 2030. He's enjoying his time at the national team. Maybe he enjoyed his time at Carnival last weekend, just saying. I would want to extend my stay with Brazil after Carnival as well, so we'll see if that continues. Sheffield Wednesday, their potential new owners are going through some pretty serious scrutiny about their just can they make this work? And also, are they going to get in some trouble here? Because professional gambler James Board, he is the preferred bidder. He's facing a lawsuit in Nevada from his co-owner at Spanish side Cordoba CF. The suit alleges Board misrepresented the club's financial position and improperly controlled access to a substantial Bitcoin account. Oh, boy. Good job, English Football League. We'll see how this goes. I don't know. Also, good job in Argentina. Chiqui Tapia, Claudio Tapia, the president of the Argentine Football Association. He has been barred from leaving the country. He has been summoned to testify over alleged unpaid Social Security contributions totaling 19 billion pesos. Judge Diego Amarante imposed the travel restriction, citing the seriousness of the case. Several other AFA officials also ordered to appear. If the restriction remains in place, Tapia could miss Argentina's upcoming Finalissima in Qatar against Spain. And also on this front, Konyaspor in Turkey, they confirmed this morning that 5 individuals linked to the club, including a current board member, have been arrested as part of an investigation under Turkey's law number 6222, governing sports-related offenses. Specific allegations haven't been detailed, but that law covers issues like match fixing and illegal betting, areas which have recently been a huge issue in Turkish football. The club states it's closely monitoring proceedings. It is battling near the relegation zone in the Super League. This can't help. All right, Season 31, Major League Soccer, beginning on Saturday. Atlanta United, Season 10, beginning on Saturday in Cincinnati, facing their first test. Arsenal facing the heat of pressure of trying to win the Premier League for the first time in a while. The growth on the women's game, ownership battles simmering and people getting arrested and indicted and all kinds of stuff. Broadcast money expanding. Everywhere you look, the theme's the same. Growth creates expectation. Expectation creates pressure. This weekend, we'll get a chance to find out who handles that pressure. We'll start tomorrow in Cincinnati on the Atlanta United side. Again, pregame coverage 3:30, kickoff just after 4:45. We'll have you on 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app. Y'all have a good Friday, and we'll be talking to you on the radio tomorrow and in more Morning Espresso to recap everything on Monday.